The latest figures we have are those of 2020, that more than 624,000 Africans studied abroad out of the several millions that applied. The figures continue to increase as years go by. Most of those who qualify to study in Europe and other developed countries are among the best to go by enrollment criteria. That is why we are today asking if studying abroad is another form of brain drain or brain gain. When you look at things the other way around, you do not see so many Europeans coming to study in Africa. They may come for research, and quite often the best among the best who leave the African continent gain jobs outside and never want to return home. Can that be said too to be brain drain or brain gain? Our topic of discussion today is study, work abroad, brain drain or brain gain. And our guests are Utibe Abasi, a Nigerian manager of student recruitment, African student recruitment at St. George University in Grenada. Madam, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Is it the first time you are visiting Cameroon? You're Nigerian.
Oh no, this is my second time.
I hope it's a nice place.
It's very beautiful.
Okay. Very beautiful. You already speak French? The French language?
I'm trying.
Did you learn here or while in Nigeria?
Well, I've been on an app and I'm using to learn, yes.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
We have with us Ewang Atabe, who is a Cameroonian and CEO of Eco Education. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, what is Eco Education?
Eco Education is an international education consultancy firm that basically helps students achieve their career goals by placing them in the right universities across the globe, where they can actually be able to gain the right skills, competencies, and attitude that will help them achieve the objective that I've set out to achieve in life. Of course, most importantly, also build the right networks.
Those universities, are they in Europe, America, or also in Africa?
So we have universities across the world. We work with universities in Africa as well.
We have with us John Ude, who is the Nigerian and regional manager of Oxford International Education Group, UK. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for having me.
In Cameroon?
No. This is actually my 5th time.
Okay.
I would say Cameroon is my second home now.
Oh, that's good. How many towns do you already know in Cameroon?
A few towns like Douala, Bamenga, Bafoussam, Boya,
wow.
And a couple of others. Yeah.
Welcome to Cameroon again.
Thank you very much.
Didier Clay, an Ivorian, is country representative of Francophone African Leadership University, Rwanda and Mauritius Island. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Wow, your English is that good, and you're from Cote d'Ivoire?
Yeah, I'm from Cote d'Ivoire.
Where did you study English?
I studied English in my country. It was kind of a passion, and we pushed it to that level. Yeah.
So some Cameroonians should be jealous now because they're a bilingual country and not all of them will speak English the way you do.
No, we are trying.
But what motivated you to learn English?
Because we used to hear that English is an international language, and if you know it, you may be having opportunities, doors open for you. So that is why we took it seriously. And
your first time in Cameroon?
Yeah, sure, my first time in Cameroon.
How do you find Cameroonians people?
Basically we have mostly the same culture. In fact, we used to do a bit of banter online, so we learned about Cameroon, and what I see is what I see online is very good. It's fine. I'm enjoying it.
I'm sure you are also thinking Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, African Cup of Nations.
Yes, it will be very interesting, and we are waiting for it in Morocco.
We are also waiting. That's what supporters of the Indomitable Lions would say.
Okay, thank you.
This is Twilight. This is CRTV News. I am Moki Edwin Kinzeka in Yaoundé. I'll be right back. Let me start with you, Utibe Abasi. Why do you think many Africans want to go out for studies?
Well, that's a really good question. I think one of the major challenges is lack of good job opportunities back home. So everybody wants a better life. And if you don't find the opportunities at home, maybe you go to school to study, you don't have the same quality as what you would have abroad, and you have the means of going abroad to get that quality of education, you opt to go out but then you ought to come back, right? And then you think, my return, I don't have the same return on investment. I've gone abroad, I've spent this amount of money to study, and if I come back home, am I going to get a job that at least helps me to recoup the money I've spent in studying and have a fairly normal life? If you don't have that and you find an opportunity abroad, then you go for it. That's the unfortunate reality.
I'll just take an example here. When you want to go to a medical school in Cameroon, it costs about $50,000. That's less than $100.
Yeah.
To about $400. That's about $250,000 a year. The same studies in Europe, in the US, maybe about $15,000. People would prefer going to pay that much there in the US to study and not staying back in Africa at home. What do you think about that? Is it really looking for education?
Well, I think it's globalization, because the world has become very small. So you want to be globally relevant. You don't want to, you want to experience maybe the UK healthcare system, which is a public healthcare system, same as what we have here. You want to have tropical healthcare experience in some locations, or you want to have the US healthcare experience, which is a private healthcare system. You want to have a really globalized understanding of whatever it is you want to study and be relevant globally. You want to be able to work in the US, you want to be able to work in Cameroon, you want to be able to work in Ghana, you want to be able to work everywhere. So if you do not have a university that can offer you that same kind of value, and you have the means to get it somewhere else, you'd probably go for it.
Ewan Atabe, what do you think Africans want to go out at times at all costs?
All right. I think Africans want to go out for different reasons. Some are personal, some are general reasons. I think on the aspects of education, we look at in terms of quality education. Of course, there is education and there is quality education. Let's look at the level of education that we have, or the standard of education that we have back home. When we try to match it with other nations, like education in the US, in Canada, in Australia, and things like that, are we able to compete with our peers who actually graduate from those other universities when we go into the job market? Like my fellow panelists did mention, the world has now become a global village. Jobs are now accessible from every part of the world. For example, if you studied IT, I have friends in Cameroon here who stay in Cameroon and they are doing jobs for US companies and earning in US dollars. Now, if you have not studied in a good institution, are you able to compete with other persons who are coming from renowned institutions and so on and so forth? So it's about what the opportunities you have after completion of your studies. So Cameroonians and most Africans are trying to go out there so that they can ensure that at the end of it all, they are able to get the right return of their educational investment, be it back home or staying back in Europe or America, wherever they may find themselves.
John, I have the same question for you, that many people want to go out of Africa at all costs to study. Does it mean that in our African countries, in Nigeria where you come from, the human resource is not there, the level of education is that poor that you think we only have it the other way out of Africa?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I think that's a very good question. I think this should be posed to most of our our leaders in the industry or in the continent. Is one of the reasons why they actually migrate there is because of better educational standards. And that is one thing we lack here, and that's the truth, because you see the human capital is here. Africa is projected, by 2050 to increase, dramatically within its population size, and then the youth constitutes about 80% of that. Now you see, if we can be able to harness that potential, it will go a long way. But there is no enabling environment. One, the infrastructure is not encouraging. Two, you have lack of competitive jobs. The job market is not competitive enough, so that's why you see they want to go there, and then after migration they actually don't want to come back. It would have been a very good opportunity for them to bring back that knowledge, but they want to actually stay there because they have better jobs there, better paying jobs, better enabling environment. Even if they pay taxes as high as 30%, sometimes they prefer that, because you also look at the currency devaluation and then the currency advantage over there. Somebody who is earning as much as 5,000, 10,000 pounds has a lot of financial advantage compared to somebody somebody who is earning maybe in Naira or in France CFAs or something like that. So these are the reasons why you say that there's a huge migration.
What is the situation in Nigeria? Could you estimate? Do you know how many? Have you done some studies to know what is the number of? Because apparently everywhere in the world you go, you meet Nigerians.
Yes,
People are going,
exactly.
and most of them.
Exactly. One thing with the typical Nigerian culture is that in a family, they always want every person in the family to be successful. So you have that kind of pressure from your parents, from your mother, from your father to say, look, I didn't make it, or I made it up to this extent, and I want you to go beyond that. So that pressure right from childhood is there. You see so many parents, even at home, that they go to the farm or they are doing some kind of mega jobs, but they save a lot. They sell their vehicles, they sell some of their properties just for their children to go abroad and gain that knowledge and gain that certification, which is globally recognized. It's a thing of pride for an African parent to notice that or find out that his word or his child has actually gone abroad to study. Coming back, he uses it to, make boast to his friends to say, look, my son studied in Cambridge, he studied in Manchester, he studied in Canada. These are the things. And then it has to do with coming back home. What are the things? It's not enticing at all. If our educational system were to be very enticing, the job market, the quality of education, I don't think we would have that migration.
Exactly. In Cote d'Ivoire, where you are from, how do poor families, because you're not a very rich country, if I'm not mistaken, how do they raise money to be able to fund education for their children out of Africa?
Thank you very much for this question. As others have said, it is a general issue in Africa that people go abroad to study. For financing, let's say funding the education, they're mostly based on loans from banks because, as they said, we believe that studying abroad give us more opportunities, give us like the global network and also the broad learning that we need to have for opportunities. And for sure, if you have a good opportunities, definitely you have a good paying job. So parents save money. They take loan from banks. Sometimes, as John said, they sell their assets to fund the education of their children. So this is basically what they.
And when the students go out, there is that pressure for them to refund the money the parents, the loans the parents took. And that is where the misconception comes. Most of these children, if I'm not mistaken, madam, think that roads in Europe are paved with gold. We could go there and then we have the money and pay back. Is it always possible for all of them who go out there?
Well, I think that the first thing is to get the skills and the knowledge you need to add value. Once you're able to add value, regardless of where you are, financial stability becomes like a byproduct. So African students, when they are exposed to excellent educational systems, they gain those skills and they become extremely relevant in their different industries. I've worked with the university I work for right now since 2018, and I've seen some of my students graduate and get into very competitive areas of specialization in the US. And they're standing out as excellent doctors. And that is opening doors for them globally.
Oh, talking about the pressure they have from
Back
the moment
home.
they get there. And the parents are already calling that we've sent you, sold everything.
True.
Yeah.
Very true. So there is, I'm not going to mention the name, but there was a student from Ghana who had a great opportunity to get a full scholarship at our university. And he completed, and unfortunately, he's got over 20-something siblings, and they are calling him every day. This one wants to start a business, this one wants to do this. He literally just started specialization, and he's put under a lot of pressure. So I completely understand that, and that is one of the ways that some of the families are sustained. Some families, I'm sorry to say, would do their best to train one child and expect that once you get there, you should start to take care of the rest of them in the family, which can put a lot of pressure on that individual. And really the narrative should change, because you want your child to really focus on what is giving them satisfaction. You want them to focus on adding value to the society and not really pressure them to bring money back home. I know it's a problem that is there, and maybe will continue to be there until, situations start to change.
John Ude, have you had an idea on a picture of these poor children from Africa who get to developed countries? How would they look like? They're struggling between education and between survival.
Yes, exactly. And that's a very good question. And then these are areas that we really need to structure, right from the government side to the home side, from the parents, and then also from the children themselves. So the kind of mentality and the picture we paint matters a lot. But just like we're saying, you see, when parents sell their assets and they put a lot of pressure on that child, sometimes it takes a toll on that child. So you see most of them, they go to school, and then that pressure is on them to succeed immediately. So they're in their classes, and then sometimes they work 20 hours a week, they have part-time work, but they get distracted because they know that they have something or some mouths to feed down in Africa. So most times they are doing 20 hours of work a week, and they do multiple jobs while schooling, and that distracts them a lot. We've had within the last 2 years or so, high number of dropouts, or students kind of abandoning their program or absconding just because they want to see how they can make ends meet rather than focusing on their education. So this takes a lot. So that's why in our organization we try to make them understand that, look, you need to have the financial capacity to run through your academics and your program, be it for 2 years for masters, be it for 4 years for your bachelor's program. So we try to effectively select key candidates and parents to let them know, look, you need this amount of funding to ensure that your word completes the entire program and not just leave the program halfway. So this starts from we as the institution, also from the parents, and then also from the child itself, inculcating data.
We have looked at the push factors, which include poverty, which include human resources that we don't have the standards that you say in Africa are not really there, and the pull factors, which include things like economic factors and better education. Now, one thing we've noticed is that among those who are leaving and going are the best. When you people are helping your universities to recruit, you're not looking for the worst. Can we call it some sort of tapping the best of Africa or from Africa to the developed world? Let me start with you again. I know the others are itchy to say something, but I'm starting with you because you're the only lady.
Okay, so that's a really good question. Any university, whether it's in Cameroon, in Nigeria, wherever the university is in the world, will want to have the best brain or the best raw material to train, and the aim is that you train and they ultimately become trainers. I work for a medical school and we run a US curriculum, and the US system of medical training is basically teaching and teaching and teaching. So once you're done, you become a fully licensed practitioner, and you're at a hospital, all the doctors will be under you for you to train. So if you want to be successful in that field, you want to have, you don't want a D student operating on you now, do you?
Not at all.
Not at all. So you want the best. So when they're done, they can train others and they can continue to. But another thing is universities have to approach this in a very holistic way. So a student can be a B student, and we've seen that too. But when you look at them holistically, they are involved in voluntary services. They've done a bunch of internships. They are in their school. They are in 5 different clubs and organizations, and then they have Bs. And another student is just having A's, right, and nothing else. So it's a bit skewed. So sometimes it's not just the academics that is a determining factor on whether or not this person is going to make an excellent product at the end of the day. It's a whole lot of factors together. So Yeah, so at the end of the day, the universities will want the best, but some universities are also looking at it holistically and not really like the A's and the B's.
Atabi, developed universities, colleges, pulling the best out of Africa because they select the best to train and claim that they are the best. That is what some people say. You take the best, train in Africa, you train them there, and then tell us they're the best when they were already the best from here, from the selection criteria.
Sadly true. The honest truth is we need to look at it on all platforms. Now, from the angle of the students, from the angle of the home country, the country where the students are coming from, and of course the host country that's receiving the students. Now, if you look at it in terms of brain drain, the country where the students are coming from definitely are experiencing brain drain because their brains are going out. Now, the important thing here is which we should notice, what is pushing them to want to go out. And of course, when these students go out, they acquire knowledge, they acquire skills, there is cross-pollination, learning new cultures, which of course, if they are able to come back home, will help in one way or the other to try to see how to create a positive impact in our societies. Now, is the environment enabling enough for them to want to come back home? Who is supposed to answer that question? So the honest truth is, if you want to look at it realistically, the country where the students are living and going and moving away from is experiencing brain drain. But if platforms are created for these students to actually be able to return back home and contribute positively in trying to see how they can push the country forward, then it will not be brain drain. At the end, it will be brain gain.
Didier Clay, is it brain gain or brain drain when most bright students in Africa are looking for education elsewhere?
Yes, for sure. It is. From the first angle, we are looking at it as a brain drain because they move from their home countries to other countries to go and study. And before pushing it further, we have to look at the redefinition of what we call abroad as well. Because here is abroad only going overseas. That is also something that we also have to look at.
I think our focus here is those who are going overseas. We go to Europe and United States, Canada, and the rest.
Okay, sure. Okay, so as I said, at the first look, it's a brain drain because they go to bring them back is very difficult. So before even they go, they have to be programs of like sensitization to tell them that, okay, you are the youth of the continent, you are the leaders of the continent, you are the ones to go and learn and come back to develop the continent. So they have to be aware from the onset of who they are to the continent. We have to tell them that they are very important to the continent and they have to come back, or to the country, and they have to come back in the country to develop the country. But as Ewang said, if they go and there is no background work, and even when they go, there is no work, there is no platform created for them to come back and have opportunities to, let's say, to input what they have learned, to garbage it out in their different countries, then it will be definitely a brain drain. But if we really manage it very well, with telling them what they are, who they are, what they can do for the continent, for their different countries, then it is a brain gain at the end of the day.
John, how can this brain drain be transformed to brain gain? They have gone out and studied. I mean, the incentives for African countries to make them come back and work at home, because at least they have gained something. They're among the best in the world, but yet they want to stay and work there.
Thank you very much. That's a very good question. Because one of the areas we need to focus on, the African leadership, the government, is to see how, just like you said, incentivize. So we could put return migration incentives, and this could be encapsulated in the form of good jobs, high-paying salaries, to say that when you return home, this is what is entitled to you, to share this knowledge back. And just before we go there are two sides to this, and then we must understand this very well. Now, it's a brain drain, yes, but if we use some of these policies, the government can actually sit down and then strategize some ways of incentivizing these talents in coming back, it will help a lot. If we look at the 1970s or 80s, the Irish did it when they left, their country to go abroad because of poor standard of living in Ireland, until they acquired more knowledge, came back, and the Irish government had to sit back and bring in some laws that would attract these high-tech, organizations. Let me also give you another statistics. According to Migration Data Portal, you see that the top 5 countries with the highest remittances and inflows is India, Mexico, China, Philippines, and Pakistan. Now, half of this, India last year did about 100 billion. And I can tell you that more than 50% of these remittances came from international students, workers who are over there sending money back. So that is another way we could actually encourage, these talents when they see that there's a need to develop their country. These are the things we need to look at from a different angle. So if the government actually can look at this holistically to say, look, we have talents going abroad, we want them to return back, let's incentivize them, let's give them some enabling environment to return back that knowledge to develop the African continent, I think it's going to help a lot.
Madam, people are asking me for this program who are scared of traveling to the US now that President Donald Trump has come with a lot of reforms. How is education going to be affected? I don't know.
Well,
that's what people are saying. I should ask you when you come to listen before the program started.
Well, I think that the educational sector will continue to grow. For the US is still a very attractive study destination. There might be some difficulties in securing visas or things like that, but if your intentions are to go study and you can prove to the immigration officer without any reasonable doubt that you're going to go and you're going to come back and you're going to go study, it shouldn't be a problem. It might become a bit tighter, but I strongly believe that it will continue to grow, it will continue to expand. And for the US has been short of doctors for a long time. So for medicine, for example, they will continue to train doctors, they will continue to open their doors to medical doctors, even medical doctors that are trained in Africa.
Okay, thank you. John was trying to explain earlier on that the remittances sent back to Africa could be seen another form of gain from these people who have gone out. But most of these people have gone out and are serving out. The doctors you're talking of are needed back at home. I'm sure in your country, Nigeria, too. Let me give you an example of Cameroon. We have one doctor to about 50,000 patients. The WHO says one doctor to about 9,000 patients. And there are about thousands of Cameroon doctors in Canada.
Yeah.
Don't you think it is disturbing in their home countries?
It is very disturbing. In 2023, about 15 to 16,000 doctors left Nigeria.
16,000 doctors left
15 to
Nigeria.
16,000
A country of
doctors.
200 million people. You could imagine how much need is increasing.
So the thing is, we need to offer competitive salaries. A doctor trains in Nigeria for 6 years. They spend a long time, they do their housemanship, they spend 7, 8, 9, 10 years in school, and they finish, and then the salary cannot be compared to someone who is stacking shelves in the US. There is no human being that will enjoy that situation or that scenario. And if there is an opportunity, an open door for them to go for a better life, they will take it. So our countries, we need to start offering competitive salaries to retain our brains.
Are you a fan of sports, football, for instance? Okay, I should have asked you, but I'll still ask you. In football, when a player leaves, maybe Kanong of Yaoundé, Maiduguri FC, and signs in France, in Germany, or the rest, they do not forget the clubs where they played. So there is a percentage of that amount because he was trained by that club. If you did that for the doctors, that okay, you are going to teach in America, you're going to teach in Canada, but you're going to send back some money to the countries that train these people. Wouldn't it be trying to balance an equation, madam?
Well, I think there is a country that has really gotten this right from my experience working with SGU, and that would be Botswana. So they, under the DTEF scheme, is the scholarship scheme that they have. They take the best brains and they send them to medical schools. A lot of them come to St. George's University to be trained as doctors. But it's the government that trains you, and once you're done, you go back to Botswana to practice. So if the government can decide, they find an excellent school, Harvard, for example, Oxford, for example, they find the best brains, say, listen, we train you, and you sign this bond. Once you're done, you come back to the country.
What about those who are trained in Botswana, recruited in America, without even thinking of Botswana that trained them?
Again, competitive salaries.
Okay, fine. Ewa,
Yes,
is it fair for African countries to train these European countries come and take use because they are in need, and then they don't remember? Or maybe they are giving, the aid they give is to compensate for. What do you think?
I think it's actually holistically not very fair because we look at it from a point of an investment. Okay, when my fellow panelist was answering the question, she initially started from the angle where the student is the one that has done the investment. And if you are the investor, you expect a return of your investment. So if I take myself through school, sponsor myself, of course, I owe no allegiance to anybody because I have done that investment. But if the state invests in me, then of course, in the context of medical doctors, of course, you're very right, the cost of training one medical doctor is extremely high. Let's take the context of Cameroon. What we pay as tuition fee, it's more of a registration fee of 50,000 francs. When you compare it with what the actual cost is to train you, it is actually on the high side. Now, if these people at the end, trained by the government, are leaving, it means the government has done a wasteful investment because they have invested, but they are not able to reap the return of their investment. But I think the fundamental question we want to ask is, what is the push factor for these people to want to even accept offers that are coming from outside? Is it just economics, or there are other things that are at play? So we look at all of these things.
That's what I've been asking you here. You said economic factors are also there. You said the training human, but there's also patriotism.
Of course.
I hope you're not telling me patriotism will not put food at table. Okay. Now, if you're joining us, you're watching Twilight on CRTV News. Our topic of discussion is study work abroad, brain drain or brain gain. We have Utibe Abasi from Nigeria. She's manager student recruitment Africa, St. George's University, Grenada. John Ude, who is from Nigeria, regional manager Oxford International Education Group, UK. We have Ewang Atabe, Cameroonian, CEO Eco Education, Didier Clay, Ivorian, country representative, Francophone Africa Leadership University, Rwanda and Mauritius Island. Now, gentlemen, lady, I called you here after some events we were organizing here in Cameroon. Mr. Ewang, let me start with you again. What is going on?
Yes. Over the last 8 years, we have been existing as a company, Eco Education, and what we've been trying to do is to try to see how to find ambitious Cameroonians and try to see how to match those ambitions with the right opportunities that will help them to achieve whatever they are dreaming of. And we limit ourselves within the context of education. We believe that the best investment that anybody can do for themselves is education. That is an investment which you can't lose except the day you finally depart from earth. You might invest on any other thing, but at some point you might want to lose it. So we've realized that lots of Cameroonians go out for very wrong reasons. And that's because they don't have the right orientation, they don't have the right guidance. You talked about migration, and we have been focusing on education. But if you look at it realistically, most of those who actually migrate from Cameroon don't migrate because of education. Lots of them actually go through the aspect of bush falling, and they are not well guided on what exactly life is out there. And we've realized that lots of Cameroonians have lost their lives, some in the Mediterranean Sea, some in the deserts, trying to smuggle themselves into different countries. And we sit back as a company, as a co-education, and look at and we think, this is not right. If you're migrating, you should migrate for the right reasons. You should understand what your objectives are, do your research, plan your finances of what you need for you to go to, and be sure that you have done the right research on where you're going to. So over the years, what we try to do is to try to see how to find some of the best universities across the globe, bring them into Cameroon in country, where they are able to network one-on-one with students and their parents, very important, and their parents, so that they can have the opportunity to have first-hand information on what these respective universities are willing to offer them, and then try to see how to tap into this. So at the moment, this year, we are organizing the first edition of a Cameroon International Road Show, where we have brought in our partners, and yesterday, we had school visits in different schools in Cameroon, educating Cameroonians and giving them insight on what education is, on what international education is, and the basic steps you have to take if you want to pursue international education. Today, we've had an exhibition at Jega Palace, which is still ongoing. We had 2 sessions, a session in the morning where students came from different schools, and then this evening, I think it's still ongoing now, from 5 p.m., we are giving opportunities for parents to come and have one-on-one experiences, so that they don't have their children going out there without understanding exactly why their children are going out there, what is needed for their children to actually be able to go out there, and be sure that they have what it takes for them to be able to see their children through these opportunities that they are interested in.
John Ude, you're one of the partners, if I'm not mistaken. What do you tell the parents that they need to do for before their children go out of this place? You have heard stories of parents having duped of huge sums of money. They want to go out, they don't even know where to give their money. They get out there, they're missing. What are those things you want to correct?
Yes, exactly. Just like you said. So we are partnering with ECHO from Oxford International Education Group, and we actually cherry pick agents, and we also cherry pick candidates and students. It's not just free for all to say you want to study abroad. Even if you have the finances, there are certain criteria that must be fulfilled. We have something we call credibility interview. So even when the ward or the candidate is actually eligible for admission, the candidate goes through a credibility interview process that is streamlined and managed by various supervisors, as well as myself, and then some of our partners from the UK. They ask basic questions like, why do you want to school in the UK? Why did you choose this certain course? You chose engineering. Why did you choose this course? What do you know about the UK? After your career, after your schooling, what are your next career options? And that's where we bring in things like them having that mentality to return back to their country. And if we kind of understand this, we put some kind of mentality in the children or in the candidate that makes them know that going to school there is just to acquire knowledge and skills and to return back to develop their own country. So we put credibility interview process. We also try to ensure that they don't have fraudulent issues or cases, because we bring in things, we require them to bring in things like police character reports to ensure that they've not been into crimes and other things like that. So actually cherry pick the right candidates and ensure there are various checks and balances from our side, and then also from the agent side, who help us in also ensuring that these factors are met.
Utibe Abasi, if you had those students and their parents in front of you now, and you had an opportunity of telling them what to do, what would you be saying?
Well, the simple thing is do a lot of research. Like I tell parents, especially if you want to go abroad to study medicine, there are some schools you can go out there and you're not even able to come back to your home country to practice. You must think about your practice destination and ensure that the university you're going to has the right accreditation, has the right recognitions and approvals to feed you into that practice destination. So if you're someone thinking about, oh, I think I should practice in any Commonwealth country, I think I want to practice globally, does the university you're going to have the right approvals, recognitions and accreditations to do that for you? Do a lot of research as a parent. Do not leave it to a third party, but thank God for the universities we work with. Before we work with AECO, for example, we would do the required background checks and ensure that they are it's an agency that can offer the right support to these parents and these students. But parents need to really do their research.
What is the success rate? I mean, if 100 children came to you registered to study or to enroll? How many of them are successful?
Well,
have you done some sort of findings?
Yeah, well, a lot of them will be successful. I think the major challenge with our students would be the motivation. So from the get-go, if you do not have the grades, you won't even apply. We wouldn't even advise you to apply if you don't have like the A's and the B's for medicine, right? But if you have the A's and the B's, we still have to do further checks. You will be interviewed. The interviewer's job is to determine whether or not you're a good fit for medicine. You can have the A's, but you have no empathy. You can have the A's and you have no ability to work with others. And as a doctor, you will always work with the team. You need that empathy to relate with your patients. You need to have excellent communication skills, for example. So we'll look at all those. We'll look at the internships you've done, what you actually did during the internships. We'll look at the different clubs and organizations you got involved with in school before we make a decision. So sometimes the student can have straight A's and it's still no.
Yeah. Exactly. What are your own inputs? What have you been adding to what they're doing here?
Yeah, exactly. So we are here. If you allow me, you see, it takes us a lot of time to start discussing going overseas to study. What are the pros? What are the cons? How can we really see if those kids that are going there, they are really going to study? That's why we are also here to also say that yes, going to study abroad is a project. It's a project in that you plan it before you do it. Their universities are overseas, even we that are in Africa. So we do a really critical screening before students get to our universities, to our campuses in Rwanda and in Mauritius. So you submit your criminal records, we look at it, we do some background check to see. Yeah.
I propose I'll keep it here and take a short break.
Okay, thank
When
you.
we come back, I'll be asking you the take-home message after this our long discussion on brain gain, brain drain, working and studying abroad. Let's have a break. We shall be back.
Tout est parti du 25 du mois de janvier, fin du mois de janvier de l'année en cours, où nous avons réussi dans les réseaux sociaux qu'elle est kidnappée et avec demande de rançon. Immédiatement, le général nous a instruit de ramener cette dernière vivante. Et se trouvait que les auteurs et l'otage se trouvaient à Yaoundé et les environs. C'est un défi que nous lançons à ces kidnappeurs contre rançon. La législation en la matière au Cameroun, c'est le terrorisme. Et la loi de 2014 prévoit et réprime les actes de terrorisme qui consistent, ici, c'est l'extorsion, qui consiste à enlever un être humain contre rançon. Et chaque fois qu'il y aura des cas similaires, nous allons toujours brancher les batteries et nous remettons les batteries en marche à effet de récupérer tout citoyen kidnappé ou alors victime des actes d'extorsion.
C'était le 24 décembre 2019. Ce jour-là, après délibération et adoption du Parlement, le président de la République, son Excellence Paul Biya, promulguait la loi portant promotion des langues officielles au Cameroun, l'anglais et le français. À travers cette instruction, la pratique des langues de Shakespeare et de Molière bénéficie d'un cadre juridique. Tout d'abord, l'anglais et le français sont d'égale valeur dans les institutions publiques nationales et dans les collectivités territoriales décentralisées. La dite loi, en son article 25 alinéa 1, stipule que les collectivités territoriales décentralisées disposent d'une structure de traduction et d'interprétation. Une mesure appliquée par de nombreuses institutions publiques, au rang desquelles les ministères et services rattachés. L'État a lui aussi son rôle à jouer dans la promotion du bilinguisme à travers une batterie de mesures. Il a mis sur pied des structures de formation et de renforcement des capacités dans l'usage de l'anglais et du français destinées aux citoyens camerounais. Une action qui marque d'une empreinte indélébile l'attachement de l'État à la pratique du bilinguisme, c'est la création par décret présidentiel de la Commission nationale pour la promotion du bilinguisme et du multiculturalisme le 23 janvier 2017. Placée sous l'autorité du président de la République, la commission chapeautée par Peter Mafani Moussongue œuvre à la promotion du bilinguisme, du multiculturalisme au Cameroun. Des outils, gages de paix, d'unité nationale et du vivre ensemble que chérit-on l'Afrique en miniature.
Il avait à peine 10 mots de français à son arrivée à Yaoundé il y a 5 ans.
Parfois tu sors, tu oublies même là où tu devais aller. Tu appelles une autre place, le taxi pour te laisser ailleurs où tu ne connais même pas.
Tout droit venu du nord-ouest, Gaël, son complexe, a appris à se faire entendre malgré son français approximatif.
J'ai déjà dragué beaucoup de filles francophones. Tout le monde dit ma chérie, moi, I want you, moi et toi fonctionner. Il y a certains qui comprennent, il y a certains qui se moquent de toi, mais quand on faisait comme ça, on apprenait avec le temps.
Sandrine, apprentie couturière, se souvient elle aussi de ses débuts en zone francophone.
Quand quelqu'un me dit quelque chose en français, je demande à mon amie et elle traduit ça pour moi pour que je comprenne bien. C'est à partir de là que j'ai commencé à apprendre le français. J'ai fait de tout pour apprendre le français, pour connaître causer français.
Lui, il coiffe ici depuis bientôt 15 ans. Des clients essentiellement francophones. Des incompréhensions, il en a vécu plusieurs.
Tu as une fille que il se prend que non, ce n'est pas comme ça, tu dois dire que c'est une fille, ce n'est pas une fille, donc un peu l'autre c'est moquerie. Et on dit que ça va, j'ai compris que prochainement je ne vais plus répéter cette mauvais français. Ça ne m'a pas trop dérangé de la moquerie, au contraire ça m'a poussé à beaucoup travailler.
C'est en pratiquant qu'on apprend. La maxime prend tout son sens avec ces Camerounais venus du nord-ouest et du sud-ouest.
Je connais la carte d'identité, le passeport, les visas, tout ça. Mais je ne connais pas ce qu'on appelle la carte biométrique.
Ils sont peu à être informés sur la question de la carte biométrique jeune dans la ville de Yaoundé. Bien que l'initiative soit un succès pour certains, d'autres jeunes Camerounais sont encore réticents à l'idée de se plier aux conditions administratives.
Ici, c'est une carte qui peut nous rapporter plus. Nous, on aimerait que vous nous sensibilisez sur ça.
Je ne vois pas trop d'avantages, c'est beaucoup plus ces inconvénients. Étant donné d'abord, il y a que c'est quelque chose qui requiert les informations personnelles de quelqu'un. Et on ne sait pas comment ces informations vont être utilisées. C'est d'abord qui gestionne ça. Il faudrait d'abord que nous les fassions vraiment confiance, c'est chose qui n'est pas déjà d'abord facile vu la situation actuelle.
Cependant, d'autres accueillent avec enthousiasme cette initiative et restent à l'écoute du gouvernement.
J'ai une fois entendu inscrit dans les procédures, mais il y avait trop longue des procédures.
Pour moi, je n'ai jamais entendu parler de ça, c'est la première fois. J'aimerais savoir comment procéder pour obtenir ces cartes.
Tout compte fait, c'est un outil qui reste à la disposition de tous les jeunes Camerounais, dont l'âge oscille entre 15 et 35 ans, pour une validité de 5 ans.
Au cours de la réunion d'évaluation des projets du plan présidentiel de reconstruction et de développement des régions du Nord-Ouest et du Sud-Ouest à Boya, présidé par le coordonnateur national, il en ressort que plusieurs de ces projets connaissent une avancée remarquable, tandis que d'autres sont encore à la traîne.
Les travaux se poursuivent très bien. Nous avions l'innovation de 2 hôpitaux. Le premier est à 90%, l'autre est à 60%. Et nous avions aussi la reconstruction de 4 marchés.
Certains de ces projets exécutés font déjà tache d'huile.
On met maintenant ces établissements à un grand standard. Je suis très content avec cette initiative que l'État a fait pour notre établissement.
Ces projets à mi-terme sont estimés à 4,3 milliards de francs CFA, financés par la Banque islamique pour le développement, implémentés par le Programme des Nations Unies pour le développement.
Satisfait? Pas absolument, parce que nous avons vu justement ce qui a été fait. Donc à cet égard, nous pensons qu'il est bon de continuer.
Le coordonnateur national des projets du plan présidentiel a par la suite fait une descente sur les différents sites. Dans le département du Fako, Motouba Tamadjon Obassé a invité les porteurs de projets retardataires à respecter les délais afin que les communautés en profitent efficacement.
Comme chaque jour, le rendez-vous a été encore respecté pour cette autre séance d'entraînement de Gazelle FA. Sous la houlette de leur entraîneur Alioum Kada, les joueurs ont tous répondu à l'appel.
Allez, Wangre, bascule déjà, permettez déjà là-bas. Chacun dans sa zone et beaucoup d'intensité, la communication. Et quand on va au pressing, c'est tous ensemble. Il n'y a pas un qui doit rester derrière. On a eu un déclic en début de championnat et les enfants ont pris conscience. Les années antérieures, nous jouons pour ne pas perdre des matchs, notamment face aux gros. Mais cette année, la mentalité a changé. On joue pour gagner. L'animation est bonne et pour cette saison, nous sommes la meilleure équipe sur le plan offensif.
Avec 20 buts inscrits en 10 matchs, Gazelle FA, qui compte 20 points, occupe la deuxième position du classement général. Une performance à mettre à l'actif de ses attaquants, Kalkon Kada et Serge Dora.
C'est le fruit d'un travail acharné avec les coéquipiers et c'est à mettre à l'actif de tout le monde. Ces résultats, ce n'est pas juste une ou deux personnes qui les font, mais c'est tout le groupe. Et nous avons comme une connexion entre nous. C'est une saison formidable par rapport à la saison passée et on espère voir encore le meilleur de moi-même. Mais je vais marquer le maximum possible. Sida à 5 buts. Comme il a dit, il est à 5 buts et moi je suis à 4 buts. On espère encore pouvoir marquer plus de buts pour pouvoir, pourquoi pas, donner le titre à l'équipe si possible.
En Elite One, depuis seulement 4 saisons, les académiciens ont pris part aux 3 derniers play-offs du championnat. Et cette saison, si le club espère tout d'abord assurer son maintien, il sera question aussi de rêver plus grand. Pourquoi pas jouer les premiers rôles.
Didier, before we took the break, you were trying to explain what you've been telling students and parents here in Yaoundé.
Exactly. So we are telling them that I was saying that we do very thorough screening for us to be sure that yes, the candidate we are having very good. The criminal record, everything is okay. So we are telling them that yes. The topic, we took time to discuss that topic, going abroad overseas. So we tell them that we have to redefine also going abroad, because going abroad can be leaving Cameroon to go in another country to also study. So we have good opportunities. Studying abroad is very good. So they have to plan it, and yes, so that they succeed.
What has been the reaction of the people you've met so far?
Yes.
Are they gaining something new? Are they surprised?
Yes, they are really surprised because of the program that we come with. They are surprised because of the system that we came with, that is very different from the classical system of education that we used to see. So we have a very innovative system, a very mission-oriented system that really allow our students to really stand out, and also a system that also focus on interpersonal soft skills. It makes students really to rediscover themselves and also to stand out, to remain brilliant.
John, you tell them that if you don't have money, don't even try.
Yes.
Or you tell them that funding opportunities and scholarships and so on.
Yes, exactly. So we know that one of the major criteria or one of the major challenges as a setback for African students to actually go and gain knowledge or skills in some of our key institutions is funding. And we at Oxford International Education Group, which is a global education provider, we've been in the business for over 30 years. We've recruited more than 100 students across the globe. We're here in Cameroon, partnering with one of the best agencies in Cameroon, ICO, who is licensed, to ensure that we give students the opportunity to go and study. So there are various criteria. One, academic requirement. They must meet that. The second thing is financing. We know that tuition fees is not easy. The least amount that a student will pay would be about £9,000, and here that should be about roughly
5 million.
7 million. Yes, 7 million. So what we have done to be able to mitigate that for them is to offer them scholarships. Not 100% scholarship, of course, because I want my salary to be paid. So at least we want 40-50% as high as that. We've also done something very strategic that is rare in the industry, which is giving them opportunity to pay in installments. So we devised a payment plan for them to say, we know you cannot pay this entire tuition fees. We've been able to say pay 40%, pay 50%, and we spread the rest of the payment up. This is to enable them to take advantage of knowledge in our universities across the UK. We have universities like De Montfort University, University of Bradford, we have Kent University, we have Greenwich University, over 78 universities in the UK alone, and they don't come cheap because you get the best of education, quality education that you can use to actually go around the world to look for a job. So this is very important. So we try to tell them that financing is key. It cannot be free. Even if we have various scholarships and payment plan, you must at least be able to financially empower yourself or your children to be able to attend these our schools.
I'm beginning with you, what we call take-home message. I mean, in this issue of brain gain, brain drain, what should be done to make it balanced so nobody complains?
Exactly. That's a very important question. And we've been looking at this for the past 40 to 50 years across Africa. We must, our leaders must ensure that, one, we create an enabling environment. One, we invest heavily in our educational system or education sector. If you notice, most of the budget across Africa, budget from the GDP to the education sector is less than 5%. We must try and increase that a lot. I think in Nigeria, they just increase it a bit. We must try and increase infrastructural development, enabling environment, and then competitive jobs to ensure that once they are going out, they are happy to come back home and be able to share that knowledge and skills that they have done. And in Oxford International Education Group, we are giving them that enabling environment. When we're interviewing them, we tell them that, look, you are going to get knowledge in our best schools in the UK. We want you to come back. We want to ask you, what do you want to do after you graduate? And that's a key question we ask during the application or admission process. So we're saying that this is an opportunity for Cameroonians to take advantage of this and then look at various courses, various scholarships, various payment plans that we have on offer, and then give us a call.
Madam Utibe Abasi, take home message.
Well, to our industry players in education, government, private organizations, private institutions, I would say open the door to collaborations with foreign institutions. If you find opportunities where there can be exchange programs where your lecturers can go over there, their lecturers come over here, or you can merge and deliver part of the study at home and they do part of the study abroad and merge it, and because the world is becoming very global, so open the doors to global collaborations. For parents, I would say please do your research, and for something like medicine, if you find out that you can't afford a good university abroad, it's actually better you study back home. Okay, you don't want a situation where you go out there and go to a university that is substandard. So if you can't get the knowledge abroad, you can do it back home. Yeah.
I think also that people study abroad, when you come back, they need to study. Do they study tropical medicine, for instance, in those universities?
Well,
did you come and have the experience?
Oh, that's actually a great question. And it's one of the reasons our university is very attractive. So where we're located is in Grenada, which is a tropical island. And when you're studying on campus, you will have clinical exposure. So you will experience tropical medicine. And then we have a partnership with the university in the UK where you will experience a UK healthcare system and ultimately the US healthcare system as well. So when you come out, you're a global doctor and you can pretty much practice anywhere.
DJ Clay, what would be our take-home message now to balance things up so that we don't talk about losing our talents all the time? We talk about gaining as well as people out there also gaining.
Yeah, exactly. I will adapt to what my fellow panelists have said. What if we explore trying to retain the brains on the continent, like give them the quality education that they can that they think of on the continent, and this is what we are trying to do as African Leadership University and African Leadership College of Higher Education, being able to train the elite on the continent and maintain them on the continent. Yeah, to the parents, research, plan the education, plan the studies. Do a study plan before sending your child, and also also look at the passion of the child so that you select the best university for the child. That's what I can say.
Where are you based? Your office in Cote d'Ivoire?
We're based in Rwanda and Kigali, but I work in Cote d'Ivoire for the Francophone market. We don't have office in Cote d'Ivoire for now. Two campuses are in Kigali and Mauritius.
Okay, Ewan Atabe, what would be your take-home message?
All right, my take-home message will go first to the government because at the end of it all, they are the father of every other citizen in the country. The first thing is we need to look at how to retain our talent. And it is often said that for a nation to move forward, you need a very stable and powerful and forward-driven human capital. Now, if everybody is itching to go out, I think there is a possibility for the state to take a step ahead of them. Other states, other governments, other countries are doing it. For example, my colleague, my panelist on the other side, Otiwe, did mention about Botswana, where the government is taking steps to be the one to invest in these students, send them to these top universities, and then cause them to come back home. If the government does the investment, these brains, because they are itching, you can't light a lamp and then cover it for it not to shine. These people are out there. They will be seen in one way or the other. They will have access to opportunities. So why not be the first to identify this talent and then try to see how to weaponize it for you to be able to use it? So government, we have local councils in Nigeria, for example, that pick students from their local states, send them to the best universities, and then bring them back home. Let's look at, for example, the Shivling Scholarship Program. Most of the students, not sponsored by the Cameroon government, but the UK government, go out there to top universities in the UK, and most of them, in fact, majority of those I know, come back home. Which means if the investment is done by the state, there is a very high probability that most of these people will come back home. And when they come back home, they are able to contribute immensely in trying to see how to develop our country. So I think the state needs to be proactive and not reactive. Be as ahead of these people. And I think that way we would be able to try to see how to be able to rather be experiencing brain gain and not brain drain. Because going out there, we are aware the standards in education are not the same. And they say if something is good, copy it. If these people go out there, they will learn, they will acquire skills, they will network, they will build relationships with which they can be able to come back home and then try to see how to contribute. Now, for the students and the parents, key thing, one thing I've realized with most of us Cameroonians is that we are always jumping stages. We are very fast in jumping stages. And that explains why lots of students actually face challenges, especially those who go out there, because they go out without having a clear understanding of their purpose of going out. It has to be a step-by-step process. First, what is my objective? Why do I want to go out? Now, once you have understood what your objective of going out is, then you have to look at, okay, what do I need for me to be able to achieve the objectives that I have set? Now, I have to plan my finances. I have to research on the right institution, the right country where I want to study. You might at the end realize that you don't even need to go out. Maybe what you are looking at actually, what will give you the satisfaction that you are seeking for, is actually back home. But because we don't take out time to do research, to plan, we realize that most often than not, we are just gullible, and we have people who are actually focusing on enriching themselves from our gullibility. So let's take our time to do our due diligence, ask the right questions, seek for support and guidance. That's why we exist. Now, Didier will tell you, for example, that I did not just sign up with African Leadership University just by research. I traveled to the campus, had the opportunity to experience it, and I saw something unique. I saw something special. And I felt like students within Africa should be able to tap into this. If you cannot afford 10,000, 20,000 pounds in the UK, you can go to Rwanda and maybe pay 3,000 pounds and get valuable education. But to be on the other side, for example, the scrutiny I had to go through for them to be able to have me as an agent tells you that we are doing a lot of work to ensure that we are able to provide Cameroonians the right support. She was telling me the other day, okay, you have to come to Nigeria. We are bringing all our agents together for capacity building. I was in Nigeria in December with Oxford Education, brought all their key agents from all African countries for capacity building. Now, we try to ensure that we educate ourselves and see how we can also educate the people around us so that they don't make these mistakes. And I tell you that if you go out there and study, the honest truth is, I've seen it with people who have gone out there and they are able to come back. When you come back, in most cases, you are much more valuable here than out there. The salaries might not be the same, but if you want to put in place, if you take into consideration taxes and what you're able to save in consideration to the standards in both countries, you realize that you are not actually losing per se. But of course, we are telling you that when you go out there and study, get this quality education and come back home, you are able to stand out amongst your peers in the job market. So we are there to support young Cameroonians, and we think we're going a long way. We are hoping to develop further projects. I think we have on the pipeline a project called Back to Africa, where we are trying to look at the students we have sent out there, how we can encourage them, try to show them the opportunities that are back home, so that they can also try to come back and try to see how they can contribute in developing our nation.
Thank you. They should not only come back thinking that they had jobs from the government, they could also create enterprises, because a lot of them have been doing so out of here. Madam, gentlemen, thanks very much for coming.
Thank you.
And it's huge week in Cameroon, so young people talk about issues concerning young people. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
That's where we end today's Twilight on CRTV News. Study work abroad, brain drain or brain gain was the topic of our discussions. Our guest, Otibe Abasi, a Nigerian manager students recruitment Africa, St. George University, Grenada. John Ude from Nigeria, regional manager Oxford International Education Group, the UK. Ewang Atabe, Cameroonian, CEO Eco Education. Didier Clay, Ivorian, a country representative for Francophone Africa Leadership University, Rwanda and Mauritius Island. I am Moki Edwin Kinzaka in Yaoundé. Thank you for watching.